Now on Denver 7 News, the Supreme Court launches an investigation into how a draft opinion on Roe v. Wade leaked. This as a majority of states prepare to ban or restrict abortion.
Well, there are a lot of questions right now about COVID immunity, how long an infection or your last shot is protecting you. We're taking a look into what long-term studies are now revealing. And farming is a significant contribution that African Americans have made to this country that is not recognized enough. The vegetable at the center of a push to make sure it doesn't happen anymore.
And with just a week left in the legislative session, time is running out for Colorado lawmakers. We're taking a look at some of the last-minute bills they're hoping to pass.
And we start off this show with a look outside over downtown Denver after a much-needed rainy day. It looks like we're also in for a rainy night. Meteorologist Stacey Donaldson joins us now. Stacey, it's going to be a wet commute home from work.
It looks like it. The rain's going to kick back in as we head through the next few hours. And it's been about 6 weeks since we've seen moisture here across the Front Range. So this is much needed here for our area. 47 degrees the temperature outside now. It feels like it's 44 with our winds in from the northeast at 6 miles an hour. And we do have a winter weather advisory in effect off to our northwest up toward Estes Park, and then a lot of rain here from Colorado Springs down toward Pueblo and Trinidad. As for that winter weather advisory, we're expecting overall 4 to 8 inches of snow from Estes Park off to the northwest toward Red Feather Lakes. And you can see that it's snowing up that way at this point. We also have some rain sneaking back down into Fort Collins and will eventually make its way down into the Denver area. So it looks like more substantial rain showing up between 6 and 10 o'clock tonight. Also, we have a lot of lightning here down toward Pueblo, and we've had a few severe thunderstorm warnings here over the last hour down toward Walsenburg. So our hourly planner tonight, cloudy skies for the next few hours, then the rain kicks back in tonight. If you are going to the Rockies game this evening, it looks like it might be a little soggy as we get through the middle and end of the game. 35 degrees will be our overnight low, but things are looking up as we head into our holiday weekend. We'll talk more about that coming up in a little bit.
We'll want to grab the jacket and umbrella for those afternoon activities, Stacey. The future of abortion is now in question after the unprecedented leak of a Supreme Court draft opinion. The court has confirmed the draft is authentic and now plans to launch its own investigation. ABC's Alex Perche has the latest from Washington.
Here in Washington, an investigation set to get underway over the leaked Supreme Court draft opinion overturning Roe v. Wade that's sending shockwaves around the country. Chief Justice John Roberts now calling on the Supreme Court's marshal, Gail Curley, to investigate the leak. The 5-4 draft opinion was authored by Justice Samuel Alito, who wrote Roe v. Wade must be overruled, and that the 1973 ruling was egregiously wrong from the start. The Chief Justice confirmed the authenticity of the leaked document first published by Politico, but insisted it was just a first draft and not a final opinion of the justices. President Biden is describing the opinion as a radical decision and warning if the draft becomes law, it could impact other freedoms.
What happens if you have a state changes the law saying that children who are LGBTQ can't be in classrooms with other children? Is that legit under the way the decision is written?
26 GOP-controlled states have or are poised to pass anti-abortion legislation. In Oklahoma, abortion is now banned as early as 6 weeks into pregnancy. The bill signed by the governor overnight, effective immediately. Ohio is another state that could restrict abortions.
If abortion is outlawed in this state, what would you think?
Well, I'd say they are denying us our rights.
I think it's a long time coming, and I think there should be a ban.
Many completely unaware their state was considering banning abortions.
I'm upset. I had no idea. I haven't heard anything about it.
In states like Ohio, immigration and inflation were core voting issues. But now, with the general election in November, abortion has entered the conversation, many telling us it is their most important voting issue. Alex Perche, ABC News, Washington.
State lawmakers are moving fast with just a week left in the legislative session. Of the more than 650 bills introduced this year, nearly 300 still need action. We checked in with Legislative Legal Services today. They say 256 bills have passed this session. About half of those still need the governor's signature. One of those is the so-called pink tax. Starting in 2023, it removes the sales tax for diapers and period products. Another bill awaiting the governor's approval is the HOA accountability bill. It requires HOAs to alert homeowners of unpaid fines, restricts interest rates on those fines, and requires them to offer a repayment plan. Now, the last day of session is May 11th. We'll keep an eye on what passes and what doesn't. Colorado Congressman Jason Crow is back in the U.S. after joining Democratic leaders on a trip to Ukraine and Poland. Crow says the U.S. needs to do everything it can to help Ukraine defeat Russian troops, but he does not support sending U.S. forces into Ukraine.
I'm not somebody who wants to go to war. I'm somebody who wants to avoid it at all costs. But I'm also somebody that understands that the world is a dangerous place, and if we don't support people who are have vested interests, that we're at greater risk.
Crow says the U.S. will do its best to help with the humanitarian crisis. He says 3 million refugees have fled to Poland since the war started. So Poland will need support for things like medical treatment and education for refugees.
Half of all workplace assaults in the United States happen in the healthcare industry, according to OSHA. In fact, 80% of incidents are caused by patients. Now, doctors and nurses want Congress to do something about it.
For me personally, being kicked, hit, bit, spit at, all of those have occurred over the years. There is one instance in particular that stands out for me, and a patient had a knife, and I didn't see it, and so I was in a room with that patient, and while the ending was good and I wasn't harmed by it, I think it just highlighted for me the vulnerability that healthcare workers have when you're trying to take care of someone and things that are unexpected happen. And I live in a small community. These are not just happening in our urban areas.
The Emergency Nurses Association and the American College of Physicians met with senators in D.C. today talking about a bill that would protect healthcare workers. It would require facilities have a plan for violence mitigation. Now, some hospitals have already taken action on their own. ENA hopes that those are tools that others use to have a standardized set of guidelines.
Workplace violence isn't going away, and if anything, through the pandemic has worsened. And so now more than ever, this discussion is important to continue to have.
She says the best way to support legislation is to recognize what's happening in healthcare settings and keep in mind that healthcare workers are people too.
We recognize that it's hard to wait and to even sometimes get bad news or be there for an event you didn't anticipate coming for. We get all of that, but we're really doing our best to take care of patients and don't want to feel that our own personal safety is at risk while we do that.
Months after our last COVID shots, many people want to know just how much of our immunity has dropped off. We'll tell you what scientists are learning about antibody levels and how mutations will affect protection over time.
For the first time in a decade, the Broncos are heading across the pond. Up next, the details on their game in London this upcoming season.